Hi, I'm Ray Burkhalter, co-founder of REI Funding Partners and managing partner of Renovate the State Private Lending Fund. If you haven't seen our Discovery series yet, please be sure to check that out. It's a great place to start to learn what private lending is and why people work with private lenders. In this Understanding series that you're watching now, we're going to walk through how private lending actually works, from the structures to how experienced lending companies evaluate deals and how risk is managed. We hope you enjoy. See you next time.
All right, so we've gone over the nuts and bolts of how a private lending deal works. But, that really brings us to the one question that matters most for any investor.
Right. This is it. The big one. How do you really know if a deal is safe? How can you feel confident that your capital is actually secure? Well, this is exactly where experience comes into play. Because, and this is so important, the simple truth is, not all deals are created equal.
And listen, that's not just some catchy phrase. It is the absolute core principle of safe private lending. So it begs the question, right? How do the pros, the really experienced teams, separate the winners from the duds? I'll tell you one thing. They are not guessing. They have a system. And that system is what we're going to break down for you right now. Think of it as the expert's playbook. We are going to walk through the exact factors the pros analyze before even $1 of investor money is ever at risk. You ready? Let's get into it. So, here's the game plan. It boils down to 5 key things. First, the property itself. Second, the numbers. Got to make sure the math works. Third, a super important metric we call loan to value, or LTV. Fourth, the borrower. Who are we dealing with? And finally, number 5, the plan. You can think of these 5 factors as the pillars holding up a really safe, solid investment.
All right, first things first, let's start at the absolute foundation of any deal, the actual property and the numbers behind it. Honestly, if you get these 2 wrong, nothing else is going to save you.
Okay, so factor 1, the property. It all begins here with the physical asset. Experienced teams, they look at everything. We're talking location, the current condition of the place, and, critically, what similar properties in the area are selling for. We call those comps. And really, they're asking one simple but vital question. If everything goes completely sideways, how strong is this asset? Because at the end of the day, that property is your collateral. It's the ultimate safety net. Next up, factor 2, the numbers. The math has to make sense. We're talking about the purchase price, the budget for all the renovations, and what we call the ARV, or after repair value. That's what we expect it to be worth when it's all fixed up. But here's the kicker, and this is non-negotiable for the pros. They never just take the borrower's word for it. They verify everything themselves. So if a borrower says a rehab will cost 50 grand, a smart lender might budget for 60, just to build in that extra buffer for surprises. Okay, so we've got a solid asset and numbers we can trust. That's a great foundation. Now let's build on it with the next 3 factors. These are all about measuring risk and figuring out if the person in charge can actually pull it off. All right, let's talk about maybe one of the single most important safety measures in all of lending. It's called loan to value, or LTV for short. And this little ratio is a massive deal when it comes to how lenders protect themselves and, of course, their investors. So what is LTV? It's actually pretty simple. It just means the loan is only for a part of the property's total value, not the whole thing. So, for example, say a property is worth $100,000. A lender might only loan, say, $70,000. That's a 70% LTV. And what that does is create this gap between what's owed and what the property is actually worth. And let me tell you, that gap is everything. We call this a built-in cushion. It's like a margin of safety that's baked right into the deal. This is what protects the investment if, say, the housing market takes a dip or some unexpected costs pop up during the renovation. It gives you breathing room. Now, you can have a great property and a super safe LTV, but none of that matters if the person running the show can't deliver. And that brings us to factor number 4, the borrower. The lending team digs deep here. They look at their experience on similar projects, their financial situation, and most importantly, their proven track record. You've got to remember, even an A-plus deal can go south real quick with the wrong person at the helm. And last but not least, factor number 5, the plan. The deal itself has to have a clear roadmap. Basic questions need solid answers. How long is this project actually going to take? What's the exit strategy? Are they going to sell it or refinance and rent it out? And maybe the biggest one, are these goals even realistic? A pro lender needs to see a clear, logical path from A to Z.
So you see, when you put all 5 of these factors together, the property, the numbers, the LTV, the borrower, and the plan, you're not just throwing darts at a board anymore. You have a structured, repeatable process. It's a system you can use to evaluate any deal that comes across your desk. Okay, let's make this real. Look at this side by side. On the left, we've got a risky deal, red flags everywhere, mediocre property, numbers that seem a little optimistic, a super high LTV leaving no room for error, and a plan that's kind of vague. That's a hard pass, a big red X. But now look at the right. This is a safe deal. Great location, conservative numbers, a nice low LTV with a big safety cushion, and a rock-solid plan from an experienced borrower. That is the deal that gets the green light. And this system, this whole process, is exactly what we mean by the professional's edge. It's how they take something that can feel really complex and risky and turn it into something much more predictable and, well, safe. You know, this is a big reason why a lot of investors choose to work with an experienced fund. Because let's be honest, becoming an expert at this stuff doesn't happen overnight. By partnering with a fund, you're essentially leveraging a team that does this day in and day out. They run hundreds of deals through this exact 5-factor checklist, and their number one goal is always the same: protecting investor capital. So, okay, that's how a safe deal gets built from the ground up. We get it. But that brings up the next logical question, doesn't it? How does all this whole structured process actually turn into consistent, predictable income for an investor?
Well, that is the perfect cliffhanger. We are going to tackle that exact question in our very next explainer. We'll pull back the curtain and show you how a fund uses these safety checks to produce those consistent returns. You're not going to want to miss it. I'll see you there.
Thanks for watching this video content. We really hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to check out the next video in this series to keep learning details about how private lending works. And if you'd like to go deeper, you can download the free guide that you will find in the video description. Until next time, take care and God bless.